Deborah, Santa Rosa, California. Hi, Deborah. Welcome. You're on the Tom Sullivan Show.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for taking my call. We are a direct fire victim of the horrific fires that happened up here.
Ouch.
And we actually established StopTheCrime.net to help the fire victims because it is unimaginable what occurred. First, it's important to know around 10:30 in the evening, wireless communications went down, and people in the fire zones were not able to connect wirelessly because of so many towers and cells burning up. So there was not the system in place that could have warned people. People had to leave at 1, 2 in the morning with just literally their night clothes on and tennis shoes.
They were running for their lives.
There were so many. Yeah. There were so many fires in so many places all at once.
Let me ask you something, though. You said there wasn't a system. I got a note from Noel who says, very complex road system, easily clogged. My daughter and son-in-law live there. They were contacted by the system. Most people that live there were. It's a dicey subject with no one to blame, in my opinion. So I get these mixed messages about some people were notified, some people were not. The officials said they didn't want to use it because of the clogging of the roads. I wish I knew the true story behind what really did or did not happen with the alert system.
Well, I can tell you that when the fires spread quickly through the affluent areas of Fountain Grove, that was where the Hilton Hotel was, people were door to door. I have family members that saved lives because they had to knock door to door.
I'm glad they did, but that is such an archaic. If you're trying to, it's not like you live out in the boonies. You got a lot of people there to notify, hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, StopTheCrime.net talks about this, Tom, and I think it's imperative that people understand what happened here because it was diabolical. And what we're finding now is that it's likely that insurance companies, because Santa Rosa has considered these areas fire zones, that insurance companies will not issue policies now for rebuilds. So that will mean that people that can rebuild will have to rebuild with cash. Their property values are going to plummet and because they can't rebuild. And what is really interesting is right in the fire zones, right where the fire jumped from the Hilton and jumped over the 101 freeway into Coffee Park that decimated some 1,500 homes there, which to drive it personally and see it, it's unimaginable. I mean, the pictures don't do it justice.
No, well, they're pretty devastating looking, but yes, I can imagine. I can't imagine. Actually.
Well, there's a sign, a big billboard that the city of Santa Rosa put up right there where the fires jumped, and it says resilience. And I would ask everybody to look up what resilience means because it is the plan for these areas that burned. And while this sounds crazy, it is crazy. And again, StopTheCrime.net explains that because people are so devastated here and so traumatized. We have friends that are staying in Airbnbs because most of our rental stock has gone into Airbnbs because we're in the wine country. And they're having to move every week because of Airbnb contracts with out-of-town renters.
Sure.
And the mobility and the transformation of all these thousands of people that have had to scatter countywide and even further into Oregon and so forth to find housing that they can afford, even though the insurance companies are affording them rental rebates within their policy, the devastation and the lack of being able to get insurance is going to prevent, as I said earlier, people to rebuild. And that's all part of the resilient plan, honestly, Tom.
It's not the same, but there is a similar vein of thought about the couple of 100,000 of people that have left Puerto Rico for Florida because they can't rebuild. There's no infrastructure. There's no way to rebuild. So when you get a huge natural disaster of the scope that Puerto Rico, Montecito, Santa Barbara, Santa Rosa, yes, there's no way you can just everybody go back to their lives in a matter of 6 months. People are going to leave. They have to.
Well, we have we have an interesting thing happening here too. Again, we discuss it on StopTheCrime.net. But
all right, you've plugged that enough now. Okay, you plugged your website. I got it,
okay,
but please stop.
I won't say it again.
Okay.
I won't say it again, but I want to say this, and everybody can look this up for themselves. James Witt, who is tasked to lead the rebuild of Northern California, worked as the FEMA director under Clinton.
I remember
and
him.
He organized in 2015 under a slippery slope of immigration visas, a pay for stay. And what that means in generic terms is that people can come in from foreign countries for a minimum of, say, 5 million and above, of course, and get 10 jobs and permanent residency. This is causing homogenation of our communities, bringing in a lot of money, albeit, but bringing in a pay-for-stay scheme. And he's in charge of the rebuild. Now, people are not, and many have put their lots on the market right now, but we've got this guy heading this, and this is very, very nefarious, I can say to you. And we also have in our cities, as you know, and I'm sure you've discussed it on prior radio shows, we have what is called the CAFR. And the cities literally are stealing millions and trillions of dollars in hidden accounts. And Santa Rosa is, of course, as everybody's listening, your city's doing it too, and your counties. And that's why our roads are just collapsing. What they're doing too, Tom, is they're taking the debris from the removal of all the footings and foundations, and they're carting that to the local rock quarries here in Santa Rosa and in Sonoma County to reuse. And we talked to some truckers of the dump trucks, and they're concerned that the reusing of this toxic material, because they can't clean off all the toxins and all the dirt that is involved with all the household products that burned up. And they're concerned that the structure of the concrete has changed because of the heat of the fires, and they're going to bring that back into the rebuilds and onto the roads. And they're also filling up our local landfill. They're dumping all this material in Meacham, which is in Petaluma.
I appreciate all of that. The problem, Deborah, is you have a disaster that is of a scale that is rarely ever found. Like I said, it may be Puerto Rico. It may, but I mean, your fires were bigger than I think even the Southern California fires, as far as the number of homes destroyed and so forth. I don't know what they're doing, but I would hope that they would be working on simply trying to rebuild the community. But people can't wait for years, and it takes the biggest disasters. I've been in some big earthquakes. It takes, I think, about 5 years before a community is kind of back to normal. So it's been since October. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you plugging your website, StopTheCrime.net. I'll give it one more, and I'll say a prayer for you in the community. But that's all we can do.